I
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Stick by Queen of Four, where she
Mm-hmm.
speaks about, although it's geared towards, I think she has a book for men as well, but the one for women speaks a lot about herbalism, and you can see the link in the spirituality in there as well. It's extensive, but it was an interesting read.
Definitely. I think I shared it. I shared one with you guys um in the WhatsApp chat. I think so. Yeah. But I can look for her other books and see what else she has available. But yeah, it was really interesting to actually read about the practices and link it to, modern practices as well that people would have within their family. I know we do have a Kemetic community in Trinidad that's like that origin Orthodox Egyptian practices. But I don't know much about them. I just know them. I think one of my friends was mentioning their presence in Trinidad, but I don't know a lot about it.
I think the temple is in Princess Thomas.
Oh, okay. Well, I should probably do some work research because I live there. Yeah. Anybody have any more comments? Anything they want to say?
I know we're gonna touch because I read through the material before that we're gonna touch on like neem and stuff. Lord, I had no idea neem was bitter. I never used it or like that before. I happen to have used it last week here because I felt like I was coming down with something.
Mm-hmm.
Does it lose potency when we dry it, or is it more potent? Because to me I feel like it more potent with dried herbs, I guess. Because I the
Yes.
ones that I use dried.
Okay. So yes, it is definitely more potent when it's dried. And let me explain this. So when you wash it and put it out to dry, right? What happens is that the water alone is evaporated. Unless it's very, very high temperatures, uh, it's very rare that volatile compounds that release at high temperatures or that evaporate at high temperatures will be released with this. So, which is why drying is done at room temperature. Um, if it is that you have it outside, you get a little bit of sun from it, but you don't have it in moist environments for it to spoil. But also, you don't dehydrate it at very high temperatures. You actually dehydrate it at low temperatures. So there's no risk for these medicinal compounds to evaporate. So very oftentimes what leaves is just water. So what remains compact in this dehydrated thing would be all your chemicals, all your medicinal properties, all the benefits of it. And then when you make your tea or you cook with it and you rehydrate it, when you add water, it makes it available now or extracts it. So depending on what you want to use it for, like if you're using a tincture, the alcohol will be your extracting agent. If you're making the water one, the water is going to be your extracting agent. Now, a lot of times we have dried herbs when it is we cook and it gets rehydrated and releases its medicinal properties when you add water to your food to cook. So that's why it's always better to have the dried herbs. But sometimes people don't have that luxury. So using the fresh one is also good, but you will always notice that a recipe will have more of that fresh herb than the dried one. And that's to kind of compensate for that in a way, because you're getting less with the fresh ones. Any more questions? Right. So we'll continue. Okay, so I really didn't know what to call this one, but I just called it the essentials, and we're gonna touch on something that we all accustomed to, something that we have all the time. If I'm going too fast, let me know, but if you have any questions, again, stop and we can address it. It's not a problem. So we all have ginger. Garlic. We all know garlic. We talked about garlic when we did the honey infusion. We talked about doing an infusion with garlic. It's used in the vinegars as well as your fire cider. And we know how much good it is for antibacterial and its antiviral properties. So here we know I put it.
Okay,
You
sorry, I'm
can.
not seeing your screen.
Oh, sorry.
It's just me.
Oh yeah, I think I always forget to share my screen. Okay, here we go. Right. So here we have garlic, and I put the scientific name. We all know garlic as garlic. So here we would have its medicinal properties being antibacterial and antiviral. It's very good for your heart. So I think if it is somebody who has like heart issues, they will tell you that they take garlic tablets or something like that the doctor recommend because it lowers your blood pressure and the cholesterol levels. So if you know how to use garlic, you don't need to have to take that, if it is that you're implementing it in your life. So some people take a garlic clove every day, just swallow it just so. Some people, you can put it in oil, like chili oil, or you can put it in your cooking so you can grate it up or mince it however you like. Usually if you want the garlic flavor, you tend to add garlic at the end of your cooking rather than the beginning. So if it is that you saute your onions and whatnot, you don't usually put the garlic in if you want that garlic flavor. Usually put it in last. So we know it is rich. So people use it for antioxidants. So I explained antioxidant last time, where it fights the free radicals within your system that is just naturally occurring or that you get when you consume foods that aren't good for you. So it will help with the antioxidants and anti-inflammatory. So we know that some anti-inflammatory, this is lowering your blood pressure. So it means then that you don't want to take other things that are gonna lower your blood pressure even more. Okay, so like I said, you could cook it, you can make an oil with it, do the infusion the same way that you did we did the herbal oil infusion. You can just do one with garlic alone with olive oil because olive oil can both be used for topical use and for cooking. Grapeseed oil can be used for both as well. I'm not too sure about the coconut oil. So, if you use it and it works, let me know.
I bought, I bought a
Yeah.
coconut oil infused with garlic from Price Mart.
Okay. I guess that
So
could work too. Um,
um, while you're on the topic of garlic, I saw you say how the Chinese gatekeep, right? But I
mm-hmm.
noticed they don't use much raw garlic. They use like a pickled garlic a lot,
Definitely. Uh-huh.
and they use the oils, not
Right.
so much raw garlic.
So, most of if you look at Chinese recipes online, you will see that they have something like chili garlic oil. So that's usually what they do. They would put their chilies with garlic and other spices because these things are really good for circulation, for removing of toxins, for anti-inflammatory, for your joints, for pain. So spices on the whole is really, really good for all of these things. So you'll add garlic to it and infuse it and then use it. So oftentimes the chili oil is at room temperature. They don't really heat it. They would use it in sauces to dip things like dumplings and soften. So yeah, it don't get a lot of heat with their practices because it's more fermented, more pickled, practices that you don't have to use direct heat on it. So a lot of people don't like ginger, but they have a lot of benefits to ginger. So I think I mentioned this as something that's good to have on mornings, but we also know that ginger is very, very expensive. Right now, I think it's like $60 a pound, which is ridiculous. But nevertheless, it does have a lot of medicinal properties. So you can add it to your soups. You can make teas with it. And you can make a compress. We did not talk about compress, but it's just basically you're gonna grate it, put it on the skin, cover it, and leave it so that it can enter from your skin because we know the skin is very absorbent. It absorbs a lot. However, I think it's easier to just drink it. But if it is that you drink it and you want to be more area specific, the compress is also a good practice simply because when you drink it, a lot of things can get lost through digestion and a lot of the nutrients and the medicinal properties could go to other parts of your body instead of that targeted area. So we know ginger to be a digestive aid and help with bloating because what happens is, especially like, when people are pregnant, they have that upset feeling or you have motion sickness, any of those things, ginger is really effective with helping that nausea. Some people cannot stomach ginger, so that's why, you learn what other things that they can try and use. So we know ginger to be for colds and flu because you would use it for sore throat as well, especially when you use things like ginger honey or lemon ginger and honey or turmeric ginger and lemon. There are different combinations that you can use. People who fasten during Ramadan, some people when they break their fast, they give you grated ginger to break your fast with, and that basically what it does is helps with this digestion that's going to happen. Because what happened is that you fasted all day, now you're breaking your fast, so they give you either ginger tea or raw ginger, which prepares your stomach now for food that you're about to eat after you break your fast. So turmeric, y'all can grow turmeric. It doesn't need much space in terms of like you could grow this in a container. And we know turmeric because we use it in our curries, we use it to color food naturally. We use it, you can make a tea with it, you can make oils with it. People use it on their skin, for religious practices, for weddings, before weddings, especially for Hindu weddings, they use turmeric. I forgot the name of the practice, but y'all would know it. Yeah, so turmeric has a lot of benefits. We are aware of it. However, it's a blood thinner. So if it is that you are on blood thinners, you won't use turmeric. And you can use turmeric every day, but in small doses if you want. So like if you say you want to drink this every morning, it has to be small amounts because you don't want to make your blood thin, which is why you would mix it with other things. So how I like to prepare it is that I would blend turmeric, ginger, garlic, and different spices like cinnamon, clove, black pepper, and whatnot, whatever I have available, like allspice. And what I would do is like freeze it in ice cubes and then put the ice cubes with hot water for every morning as a early morning detox, open my stomach for breakfast kind of situation. I like to add it to hot chocolate. The reason being is that the hot chocolate that I make, I use coconut milks and cocoa, local chocolate blocks. And when you boil it and you add the turmeric, all that good fats from the cocoa and the coconut milk binds with the turmeric and the black pepper and makes it bioavailable in your system. And it also gives it a nice flavor when you have it with the hot chocolate, especially people who don't like to drink turmeric on its own. And it's a nice thing to have before you go and sleep. And in recent years, turmeric or healthy latte or golden milk latte has become a thing, and they would prepare it. I think some people don't put the black pepper, but you really need to put the black pepper in, and they have it iced with different milks. It's just a commercial recipe to healthy, which is usually what your blood I'm sorry, your grandparents and stuff would give you when you're sick. Okay, Rhonda, I'll answer your question afterwards, right? Because we still have a lot of stuff to cover. Because low blood count doesn't have anything to do with low blood pressure, because blood count has to do with your blood cells and rebuilding blood cells versus how thin or thick your blood is. Okay, so we know turmeric is really good for your liver, and if it is that you're taking foods that compromise your quality of your liver, it's good to, have it a little bit. And it's good for your brain and heart. So turmeric, I know in Trinidad we call it saffron. So when you go to the grocery, you will see it probably labeled saffron, but it's not. It's turmeric, and you can use, turmeric topically for wound healing as well, not just for hyperpigmentation of your skin, but turmeric stings, so it is possible that you might be a little yellow when you use it. So we talked about using it in cooking. So we know curry. For people who make their own curry, you add turmeric as well to the mix. But yeah, you could add it. So like if it is you're making normal soups and stews, you can elevate things like ramen. So I know ramen, people don't like it, but for me, that's like an emergency food. That if you don't know what you want to eat, so you elevate it in that way. And I know India has Maggi noodles, and I see that they come out with it in Trinidad market. I see it in the groceries and stuff. And if you look at how they prepare it, they add spices and turmeric to their version of how they cook these noodles. And it's very tasty. I made it. It was amazing. And you can elevate processed foods in a way, because again, we need to take into considerations people budget and what they're able to afford. So if it is that you do have, things like ramen and pasta and all of these things that are already there, you just elevate it with spices. You add things to it. You kind of make the recipe your own in a way. So that way you can benefit from it as well. So oftentimes people, when I make ramen for people who come by me, it don't be like with the ingredients, because I make it really fancy. I add miso paste, I add bone broth in it instead of water. I add like herbs, mushrooms, all of these things to it. But I get the dried mushrooms from Cynthia's grocery, because I don't use a whole tin of mushrooms from the can. So I think it spoils really quickly if I don't use it out. But what happens is if you buy the dried mushroom, when you cut it, you can cut it with a scissors because it's not very stiff, and you rehydrate it in hot water. You get in all these medicinal properties from rehydrating this dried mushroom, versus buying the tinned ones where it is in a preservative agent. Now, if it is that you could afford the tin ones, and I think the tin ones are like about $5 less than this pack of normal for mushrooms. But it's something to consider when you have to budget as well on what is available to you. Because I think the black fungus as well as the dried mushrooms are available for where Sincere stock their things in normal groceries. So I can probably, like, when I see it, I can probably tell you guys where it is. There's also this video that I saw from one of the traditional Chinese medicine pages that I follow. She was doing on TikTok a video on ingredients from China and like what you use it for. And one of the really good benefits was black fungus. However, black fungus is very, very expensive. No, I'm not. But I can tell you what to do. Right. So cinnamon.
I'm feeling
Now,
under the weather. I could do it a ramen.
it's actually like if you make it like with spices and stuff, it really elevates it to just this. Like you can put so Koreans have gochugaru, which is your black your chili pepper flakes, and you have gochujang, which is the pepper flakes but fermented with soybeans. So a lot of fermented foods, like I wanted to do fermented foods as a section, but I'll see if I can fit it in as one of these sessions for next year from session 6 to 10 because I'm redoing what I want to do for those sessions. So maybe I can do a fermented foods and the medicinal benefits of it because fermented foods come in a lot with cooking, with in terms of how the microbiome works and how good it is for your gut and gut health. And we know digestion is only as good as your gut health because you want to make sure that these things are bioavailable because I had to learn that bone broth alone isn't enough, that you need to add fermented foods with it to make the nutrients bioavailable. So that's why Asians put miso paste in all of their recipes with all their bone broth when they're making bone broth or soups, because miso paste is fermented soybeans and it's kind of like, I think Sincere's have it almost like $68 and the packet has like 100 servings in it. So for me, that was fine. But so I would put it in with my soups when I make bone broth and stuff to make it bioavailable to be able to get all these benefits because bone broth, especially if you use like beef bones, now people who can't use beef or red or any of those red meat, chicken bones, you can chicken foot, you can get that from the butcher. I think they usually sells it in a pack and you can use that. And it has so much benefits in terms of collagen and whatnot and such. Now, vegetarian option would be to use herbs if it is that you can't use meat, right? So cinnamon will tie into this because cinnamon is really good for blood sugar regulation. So oftentimes people who are diabetic, you have insulin resistance, insulin sensitivity, or PCOS. Cinnamon usually is like 10,000 milligrams or something like that for the day to help with your blood sugar and absorption of the good sugars or the good glucose from food. So right, so it's antibacterial, antifungal. Now, cinnamon is a core herb for everything that we making. Sour wine, cinnamon, masala chai, cinnamon, any kind of sweet foods, cinnamon. You can make cinnamon oil. So cinnamon is also used as a cleanser spiritually. So people use cinnamon oil to clean their money or cinnamon spray to clean their money because it's just a practice when you get money to cleanse it, to cleanse your house. Like a lot of times, if you study month, people use cinnamon to like wipe down their essential oils or oils to wipe down their front door or blow it in. So people use this for everything, right? Not just for medicinal properties. Cinnamon is universal at this point. So you can use cinnamon added to your coffee if you're a coffee drinker instead of a tea drinker. So you can add it because it's really good for you. With, aside from the blood sugar regulation, it's good for anti-inflammatory, antibacterial, and antifungal. So anti-inflammatory, I would always recommend cinnamon because unless you have a cinnamon allergy, simply because we have cinnamon in everything that we eat sweet wise. It's very good for your joints. It's very good for your blood. It's very good for circulation. If you have issues with circulation, it's very good for vaginal health. Cinnamon and cloves, like if you do an infusion with water, it's really good for your vaginal health. Anywhere that you have mucus lining or joints, it's really good for those things. So it's usually a safe herb that you can recommend, that you can use for it. Yeah, so there are different types of cinnamon. So again, you're gonna have to research it and see it. Ceylon cinnamon, Ceylon, is usually the cinnamon that you would use. You can get it in the grocery from, I think it's St. Vincent herbs or Barbados herbs, something like that. It's from the other Caribbean. They have it. When I see it again, I'll just take a picture and send it to you guys. But Ceylon cinnamon is a cinnamon that the Indian people would have used, because Ceylon tea, Indian, Sri Lanka, and Mauritius, that whole people, all the people that was colonized to grow teas usually would have grown spices along with them. Yes, Chinese as well. They use cinnamon oil. A lot of oil infusions and stuff. You can use cinnamon for salves and balms for circulation. So I usually recommend like rosemary, cinnamon, and cloves as a tea. Is also good for your hair. You could put it in your hair for regrowing hair. It takes a little longer to regrow your hair if you massage it into your scalp, but it's very, very effective. So you can use ground cinnamon in your smoothies and bacon. I think cinnamon goes really well with chocolate. So if it is that you baking anything with chocolate or making hot chocolate, you can add cinnamon to it. And I think adding cinnamon to smoothies is a great way to get it in. Sometimes if you don't like the smoothie that you're making, at least your brain can associate cinnamon with the goodness that is cinnamon and the comfort that is cinnamon. And cinnamon oil, I showed you all my cinnamon oil when we did the oil infusions, so you can make your own cinnamon oil like that. Now, if it's just you're using cinnamon oil for spiritual reasons, I think you use either universal carrier oil or you use olive oil. But if it is you're doing it for medicinal, then you use a edible oil. Okay, so that's it for this section. Any questions? Yeah, so I'm seeing here in the chat, so there are a lot of broths available commercially, but to be honest, I don't like to buy things commercially, simply because I'm not always sure what really goes on in it. And I honestly don't have time to research all the ingredients, to research what's going on. If I'm gonna have allergic reaction, people who have allergies, if there are any hidden ingredients that you don't know about, these are things that to consider when buying things on a commercial market, especially if you're allergic to preservatives or any of those things. But it is there as an option for people who want it. I don't know the price of it though. But yeah. But you can make it yourself home. When you have vegetable scraps, you can freeze it and you can pressure cook it at the end of the week, and you can use that as your vegetable broth. You can add fresh vegetables to it, or vegetables that are close to expiring, that are a little bit soft and you don't really want to eat. You can make a vegetable broth with it and then compost the rest of it. I know Maggie has bouillon cubes that can be dissolved. I personally don't use Maggie, but it is there available on the market as well. Okay, any more questions? Okay, so we'll start digestive session. So here we have a picture of fennel, coriander, and mint because those are, essentials coming into digestion. So we talked about ginger before, so we wouldn't mention ginger over here and garlic over here, but the coriander, fennel, and cumin, which we know as jeera, is a very, very good combination. And this is something that I give out for free, in terms of like the recipe and stuff, because you can use it before meals, after meals. If it is that you have acid reflux, this is a very good tea to have. Because of how warm it is, it prepares your stomach for digestion if you have it before, or if it is that you having a meal outside of your normal eating hours and you need to prepare your body for digestion. It's a really good tea to have. And you can also use it in our normal cooking. When I sold this tea, somebody told me that they use it in their biryani because they run out of spices. So yeah, you can use it for other things, right? So peppermint, um, you can get this in the grocery. You can grow it yourself. However, if it is that you are growing mint, any mint, do not put it in the ground because mint grows very, very wild and they will take over your entire garden. It's very invasive. So you want to restrict it to containers, kind of keep them by themselves so they don't go and colonize the other plant space. But you can also get peppermints in the grocery in the herb section if you need to, or you can buy it from Almighty. She will sell it to you in bulk. She'll wholesale it to you guys. So it is used universally as a digestive aid for bloating and gas because it helps with the relaxation of your gastrointestinal tract and will help with ease discomfort. Now, if it is that you're not a mint person, then what we know as CCFT, coriander, cumin, fennel tea, would work as well if you're not really a mint person. So antispasmodic means it helps with reducing muscle spasms. So usually what happens if it is that you have things like irritable bowel syndrome and you're having cramps, this is usually linked to things with acid reflux or any kind of cramping or pain that happens. The peppermint will help soothe that as well. And we know we use mint, peppermint, in candy, in lozenges. We use it in essential oils and aromatherapy for respiratory support and relief, migraines, headaches, and such. So the respiratory will clear the congestion, your sinuses, the lungs, etc. when you have the cold and flu, and especially if you have bronchitis, which is inflammation. So bronchitis is the inflammation of your bronchus in your lungs. So you want to get that inflammation cleared out because you need your lungs to breathe, right? So headache relief, anything that is minty is usually good for your headaches. So you can apply it topically as well to your temples. Drink it as a tea or wherever it is that you need that relief. So using it for the peppermint tea, the peppermint oil, you can get capsules if it is that you're not really a fan of either. And if it is that you have a steamer, you can use it as well to clear your lungs. If it is you don't have a steamer, you can make like a tea with it, but you need to cover the tea, right? And I think you could put like a towel over your head and put your face at a safe distance from the steam and kind of create this environment that is like very hot and allow the steam to go up into your sinuses. Okay, so fennel, any questions on peppermint? Okay. So fennel seeds, you can get this in the grocery as well. It's very good for indigestion, bloating, and gas. And the digestive enzymes produce helps break down the foods that's, about to happen, you're about to consume, or the foods that you would have consumed if it is that you're having it as a post meal. Now, when you have this, is totally up to you, because I mean, if it is that you could have it before, I would say that would be really good to kind of prepare your body for digestion. But if it is that you want to have it after, that's also an option. But I prefer the, having it before. And then the funnel reduces inflammation in your stomach lining. And we talk about your stomach lining being lined with microvilli that are that is very sensitive, and things can get stuck in there. And that is where gluten usually gets stuck, or things that cannot pass that barrier to get into your bloodstream. It gets stuck in your microvilli and you can get inflammation happening. So we don't want that. So fennel seeds help with expelling gas. So you might be a little gassy, especially if you're somebody who produces a lot of inner gas. Yeah. But according to Shrek, out instead of in is always better. Uh, Hormonal balance. So this is really good for people who have PCOS. It helps with supporting menstrual health and helping with hormonal imbalance. So this, as well as fenugreek seeds, help with increasing milk productions. Fenugreek is meaty, by the way. So you would know, if you know it as meaty, is used to help for lactation or making milk for breastfeeding mothers. And we talked, so it's also an antioxidant. So it's really good for infections as well. So your urinary tract infections are sometimes linked to digestive infections, especially in terms of what you're eating. If it is that it promotes bacterial growth and whatnot. So it's very good to have antimicrobial, because antimicrobial isn't just antibacterial or antiviral or antifungal, but rather it's all of them combined. So you can make it in a tea, chew the seeds, you can make a tincture, or you could do an infusion and drink it. So cumin, this is what we know as jeera. It's also a seed. You can